Hello. It's turning colder and there will be some snow next week, so I wanted to give you an update on our very latest thoughts here at the Met Office. Now, we've had high pressure in charge all week. That high pressure through the weekend starts to drift towards Iceland and Greenland. That opens the door to much colder Arctic winds for the start of next week. The boundary between the less cold and colder air is marked by a couple of weather fronts. They'll track south during Monday and they'll bring a mix of rain, sleet and hill snow along with a strengthening wind as low pressure moves through the North Sea. They'll also open the door to those Arctic winds. Those winds will bring much colder conditions to the whole of the UK, and it will be cold enough in places for snow. But the snow will be coming in the form of showers, which in a northerly is often very hit and miss, and those showers will most likely affect northern and eastern parts of the UK, but a few will crop up elsewhere. So even if you haven't got a yellow warning in your area, doesn't mean that you're not going to see any snow next week. It's in the yellow warning areas where the greatest risk of disruptive snow exists. And for Monday, that's northern Scotland and parts of eastern Scotland and northeast England. Yellow snow and ice warning here because of the risk of snow accumulations of 2 to 5 centimetres at lower levels and 10 to 15 centimetres over higher parts of northern Scotland. And overnight, with freezing conditions expected, any lying snow or any wet ground because of the showers coming and going likely to freeze, and so the risk of icy patches and slippery surfaces in the morning on Monday and into Tuesday. And by Tuesday, that warning extends a little bit because the colder air is increasingly pushing further south. Now, during the day, I think at lower levels, the snow may not last that long because, of course, in a northerly, we've got sunny spells as well. Quite bright skies often in a northerly airflow, and the sun is gaining in strength at this time of year, and that will help daytime temperatures reach 3-4 Celsius in many places. But if you're thinking those temperatures don't look that low, well, they don't tell the whole story, because you've got to factor in as well, in this northerly wind, the very low dew points and the strong wind, which will make it feel more like these kinds of temperatures. -1 to -3 Celsius, -4 for some exposed North Sea coasts. Those are the feels like temperatures on Tuesday afternoon. And on Tuesday nights, temperatures dipping several degrees below freezing, a widespread frost expected across the country with plenty of clear spells in between any showers. Now, whilst the greatest risk of disruptive snow is around northern and eastern coasts Monday and Tuesday, by the middle of next week, focus shifts further south, because it's at this stage that we'll start to see low pressure trying to push in from the Atlantic. And this will bring rain plus milder air. However, as that rain mixes with the cold air in situ across the UK, there is the risk that on the leading edge of any bands of rain, we'll see disruptive snowfall. But where exactly that disruptive snowfall takes place between Wednesday and Friday next week is all going to hinge on the track of this area of low pressure. And at the moment, we consider there are 3 scenarios. This is the most likely scenario, a 60% chance that low pressure will track along the English Channel, bring some rain to Cornwall and some disruptive snow to other parts of southern England and South Wales, with the cold northerly feed remaining across the rest of the country, so plenty of bright skies, but further showers for some of these North Sea coasts. So this 60% scenario would bring potentially a spell of disruptive snow for some southern parts of England and Wales. Now, there's a 20% chance that that low will track just a little bit further north, but that makes a huge difference in terms of who sees the disruptive snowfall. It would be more likely across central and northern parts of the UK, with mild air soon replacing the cold air, and that mild air returning across most of the rest of the UK and turning unsettled at the same time between Wednesday and Friday of next week. There's a 20% chance this will happen, and there's a 20% chance of this scenario, the low tracking just a bit further south, and allowing the northerlies to remain in place across the whole of the UK, so remaining cold everywhere, with some further snow showers for some of these exposed coastal areas, but otherwise a lot of fine and bright weather. So the 60% scenario is most likely at the moment. That would bring a spell of disruptive snow to the south, but eventually there is a trend, especially in southern areas, for temperatures to rise later next week and into the following weekend. However, as you can see from these temperature plots, there's still a lot of uncertainty from the middle of next week in terms of temperatures. Now, the bottom one is for Cardiff and the top one is for Edinburgh, and you'll notice how the red boxes, these are the forecast daytime temperatures, and the bigger the box, the greater the range or the greater the uncertainty in terms of that temperature. Those boxes dip below the average line for both Cardiff and Edinburgh during the weekend and the start of next week, and by Tuesday, Wednesday, well below the red average line for both Cardiff and more especially for Edinburgh. Then you can see how big the boxes get on Wednesday and Thursday for Cardiff. Really big boxes, could be anything from above average to well below average. And that's just an indicator of the track of those areas of low pressure and the uncertainty that slight deviations in those low pressure tracks bring in terms of temperatures in the south. Now, because Edinburgh is further north, it's less affected by deviations in the track of that low pressure during the week next week, and those boxes remain below average until well into the following weekend. But even then, the boxes become bigger, and there is a trend upwards with many of these boxes through the second half of next week and into the weekend. So a lot of uncertainty about snowfall at the end of next week, but certainly at the start of next week, we've got those yellow warnings because there is that risk of disruptive snow for some northern and eastern areas.